Welcome to Le Marin, Martinique. I have never seen so many boats in one place. The Bay of Marin is considered to be one of the safer places in the area to be during hurricane season. It's also quite a bit cheaper than Grenada for food and boat parks. My engine is looking so rusty. It can use a bit of spray paint. The reason it looks like this, when I was going upwind, up current this year, waves would come on the hatch, would seep through, and then they would come on top of the engine hatch and just leak a little bit on the engine, and salt water destroys everything. It might not be perfect, but it's definitely a hell of a lot better than it looked like before. Let's see how it runs. Let's see if everything is alright. I'm gonna motor sail to the other side of the bay. There's a really nice secluded bay over there that I'd like to go check out. Everything seems to be fine with the engine, so I'm gonna sail the rest. Apparently there's a really nice dinghy ride around that little island there, so let's go check it out. Let's go explore Martinique. Martinique is an island in the East Caribbean between St. Lucia and Dominica. It is part of France and thereby part of the European Union. The spoken language is French and Martinican Creole, and there are about 350,000 inhabitants. Originally the capital was in Saint Pierre, but in 1902 Mont Pelée, a volcano, erupted and destroyed the capital. The only survivor was a guy in prison who was saved by the thick walls of his prison cell. Shortly after the volcano erupted, the capital moved to Fort-de-France. Fort-de-France, originally it started as Fort St. Louis, a fort built to protect the city from intruders. After a few name changes, it became Fort-de-France. The average temperature during the year does not change a lot and usually is around 27 degrees Celsius or 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Besides a few really pretty buildings like this library, which was originally built to supply free reading knowledge to everyone, I don't find the architecture of the city extremely pretty like Paris and France. Most buildings were built with the goal to be able to withstand hurricanes. This is Marché Couvert, which means market with a roof on it. There's a lot of local produce and other stuff you can buy here. Oh, yours is bigger than mine. Look at those, they're bigger than mine. I'm losing the battle. These are all punches from different types of fruits that you can mix with, well, I guess with rum. Today I'm in a park that represents 400 years of Martinique history, so let's go check it out. The original inhabitants, that we often now refer to as Caribs, they originally came from northern Venezuela in about the 7th century, and this is how they lived. What a pretty place this is. I don't think concrete existed at that time, so the floors must have looked a little different at least. The men were in charge of preparing the land, cutting and burning wood, and the women were in charge of cultivating the land, and every woman had her own garden. I really enjoy being here. It's really a coincidence I'm here, because a week ago I was in the Netherlands in, well, a similar place where I told about the history of the Netherlands, and yeah, this is the same but then about Martinique. Around the 1500s in France there was a guy and he promised a bunch of other French people, hey, if you come here to Martinique you can work in the tobacco industry and you can make a lot of money. So a lot of people did it. They arrived here and he sold them as slaves, and they had to work 36 months for their owner to pay back for their voyage. Can you imagine? You go somewhere to see the promised land and then you're sold as a slave. A little later there was a war between the French and the local Caribs. The French wanted the Caribs of the island and the Caribs wanted the French of the islands. And actually the Caribs were winning, but then a little later a bunch of Dutch people helped the French and eventually the Dutch and the French succeeded. So yeah, I guess I'm a little guilty here too. These are the huts that the slaves used to live with, 2 to 3 people in one hut, and the average life expectancy of a slave will be between 25 and 35 years old. So that means that I would be dead right now. I would say it's about 2.5 by 2 meters on the inside, like 6 by 8 feet. I wouldn't want to live here, but it's a beautiful construction. If a slave was caught eating sugarcane in a field, he had to wear that thing, which is kind of like a mouth cover. Every time a slave changed owner, he got branded with like the metal thing that goes in the fire, and then tss. And also for punishment, sometimes they cut off a foot or a knee. This is horrible. It's crazy if you think about this was only 150 years ago. This is the hut of an elderly slave who was over 35 years old. The mattresses they used were filled with dry banana leaves. I don't know, I don't think it sleeps that comfortable. It's not very equal. I'm all the way at the northernmost point of Martinique, Anse-Coleuve. Gonna check out how it looks like. Martinique is famous for their sugarcane production, and here is an old distillery from the beginning 1900s to make rum from sugarcane, and all around this area were sugarcane fields. I really like the way how they put the stones together in this wall. It's beautiful. Martinique is very well known for its rum production, so today I'm going to visit a distillery. Distillery La Favorite, one of the last independent and still family-owned distilleries in Martinique. It's a steam engine built in 1906. Apparently it still works. It's just not operational today because it's weekend. One of the things I love about Martinique is that the availability in the supermarkets, you have no idea. In Grenada, there was limited availability and it was so expensive, and here it's affordable again. You have fresh bread, like you have no idea how much I miss that. And like decent freezer vegetables for like €2.50. This is awesome. And fresh bread and croissants, like really good fresh bread. That's in Netherlands is normal, but here in many islands it's really hard to find decent bread. And the wine is so cheap here, especially compared to like Grenada, for example. You have a decent bottle for like €3. This is Plage de Carbet, the beach of the town Carbet, and this is black sand. There are a bunch of black sand beaches in Martinique. What happened many years ago is that volcanoes erupted and volcanic material came into the ocean, and that eroded, and eventually that became sand particles and came on the beach. That's why this is called black sand. We're going to finish the day by trying out a cocktail from Guadeloupe and Martinique called tea punch. And tea punch is made from locally made rum, locally made limes, and locally made sugarcane. Advised is to just try the rum first and then add the other ingredients. It's got a bite to it. Adding locally made sugar and lime. Cheers. It is good. It's got a nice bite. It's a little less now. It's nice.